Hello everyone. On the morning of December 6, 1938, winter lay heavy over Vienna, Austria. Coal smoke clung to the narrow streets of the old imperial city, settling between buildings like a gray fog. Inside the courthouse on Landesgerichtsstrasse, preparations were underway for an execution. Under Austrian law, the sentence would be carried out by beheading. The wooden block stood at the center of the chamber. The axe had been sharpened, balanced, and tested. At dawn, a woman would be led from her cell. Her name was Martha Marek. She was 34 years old. Martha had been born in Vienna in 1904, into poverty. Her mother died before Martha was old enough to remember her face. She was raised by a struggling Viennese family who could barely afford to feed themselves. From an early age, Martha learned what it meant to go without. At 15, she found work in a dress shop on Strasse, folding fabric and sweeping floors for a few coins each week. It was there, in the autumn of 1919, that her life changed. An elderly man began visiting the shop. His name was Moritz Fritsch. He was wealthy, impeccably dressed, and always wore a silk waistcoat even on ordinary days. Fritsch owned a department store and lived comfortably. He noticed the quiet, well-spoken girl working among the bolts of cloth. What followed would span 2 decades, cross continents, and leave 5 people dead. Fritsch was 74 years old when he made Martha his ward. He took her into his household, claiming sympathy for her circumstances. Within a year, the relationship had shifted into something far more intimate. It was never openly discussed, but the servants knew. Fritsch sent Martha to expensive finishing schools in France and England, places reserved for daughters of Europe's elite. She learned languages, etiquette, and how to move comfortably in wealthy circles. When she returned to Vienna in the early 1920s, she was no longer the orphaned shop girl. She lived in a grand house on the western side of the city, surrounded by oak furniture, velvet drapes, and servants who brought tea and kept the fires burning. She attended the opera. She wore silk and lace. She learned what it meant to live without fear of hunger. In 1923, Martha met a young engineer named Emil Marek. He was handsome, ambitious, and close to her own age. They began a secret affair. When Moritz Fritsch died in early 1924, he left everything to Martha: the house, the money, the investments. She was 20 years old and suddenly very rich. That summer, she married Emil. For a time, they lived extravagantly. They entertained guests, purchased motor cars, traveled, and furnished their home with expensive decor. Money flowed freely, too freely. By 1926, the inheritance was gone. By 1927, they were facing financial collapse. Martha refused to return to the life she had escaped. In March 1927, she took out a substantial accident insurance policy on her husband, one of the largest written in Austria since the Great War. 2 months later, Emil went into the garden to chop wood. What happened next would define everything. The axe came down. Emil screamed. Martha found him on the ground, his left leg nearly severed below the knee. She picked up the axe and brought it down twice more before calling for a doctor. The leg was hanging by skin and sinew. Surgeons amputated it. The insurance company grew suspicious. The preserved limb showed 3 distinct wounds, each at a different angle. Investigators questioned both Emil and Martha. They insisted it had been an accident. the investigators did not believe them. Martha attempted to bribe a surgical assistant to alter testimony. When she could not pay what he demanded, he went to the police. Both were arrested. In April 1927, the court delivered its verdict, acquitted of fraud, guilty of corruption. 4 months' imprisonment already served, they walked free. The insurance company paid 30% of the claim. After legal fees, almost nothing remained. They fled Austria. They failed everywhere they went. By 1933, they were back in Vienna, living in a cramped tenement. Emil, now disabled, struggled to find work. Martha sold vegetables on the street. Then Emil fell ill. He lost weight, his vision failed, his legs weakened. On July 31, 1933, he died. The cause of death was recorded as tuberculosis. Weeks later, their young daughter fell ill. She died soon after. Martha collected the insurance payments. Over the next 3 years, the pattern repeated. An elderly aunt, a paying lodger, life insurance policies. Blindness, hair loss, paralysis, death. When Detective Carl Peters reopened the case in 1937, the truth finally surfaced. Bodies were exhumed. Every one contained traces of thallium, a slow, devastating poison that mimicked natural illness. A chemist confirmed Martha had purchased it repeatedly over several years. Each tube was enough to kill 70 rats. She had bought many. When police found her surviving son, recently insured and already dying, they intervened just in time. The boy lived. Martha was arrested. The trial of 1938 transfixed Austria. More than 100 witnesses testified. The evidence filled 400 pages. After less than 2 hours of deliberation, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all counts, she showed no emotion when sentenced to death. At dawn on December 6, 1938, Martha Marek was led into the execution chamber. Snow had fallen overnight. She knelt. She did not speak. The axe fell once. Death was instantaneous. She was buried in an unmarked grave. Her crimes led to tighter poison regulations in Austria, but too late for those who died. Her surviving son vanished into history, and the house where it all happened was demolished, erased from the city's memory. Only the file remains, bound in fading cloth, ink browned with age, silent testimony to one of Austria's most chilling crimes.